We got an interesting online question about I drink living water. Where does the name come from? I drink living water comes from a really specific and personally important part of the Bible. And I just want to go into it with you for a couple of seconds because I think it's a really imperative part of what we're trying to do. And one of the reasons that prayerfully we selected I Drink Living Water as the name of the company. Listen, you got this really weird situation, and it requires a little bit of background so that we can understand it. And some people are ahead of me already with regard to it. But Jesus, in the time that he was on the earth, understood a whole bunch of the social dynamics that have been going on generationally. And one of those major social dynamics outside of a lot of pharisaical religious thinking, which he didn't really appreciate tremendously, which is probably good news for all of us, was the separation between what had once been a united Israel that had been broken into two pieces, fractured. And part of those two pieces that had turned into what a lot of people in Judah and Benjamin, which was one piece that was united and thought that they had the right direction and the right way. So there was a lot of bad blood. People, they kind of didn't like each other. It's funny how things have a tendency not to change that much over a few thousand years. But if you think about all things Jewish being opposed to all things Samaritan with regard to beliefs and where to worship and what we're doing and how we did it and our right to do it and all the rest of those things complicated, then the interesting part of the I Drink Living Water story is that Jesus drags everybody to a well that's got some really significant historical, patriarchal root to it from the promise of Abraham. And at that well, he bumps into a woman, and I'm going to go back to religious people one more time. This woman, probably from a religious perspective, you know, everybody that's kind of marching around with a wee bit of a pole up their keister, might not like very much popping into a pharisaical or religious church environment. But there she is anyway. She's been divorced multiple times. She's living with somebody. She's come out in the middle of the day to draw water, and we're primarily believing that she's come out in the middle of the day so that she doesn't run into other people that hate her and despise her. And there she is in the middle of this, and Jesus is basically saying to her, hey, would you get me some water? She's like, hey, you're a Jew, I'm a Samaritan, why are you asking me for water? I'm paraphrasing, make sure and dig into it, read through it yourself. But basically what Jesus winds up doing is offering her a proposition. And that proposition is that if she was to take the water that he had to offer her, that she would never thirst again. Kind of cool when you think about somebody who's socially, economically, religiously in an oppressed situation, spending a couple of minutes with the creator of the entire universe, and that creator of the universe loving her so much, wanting her to have a promise that's solidified by his discussion with her on a one-on-one basis, the revelation that he is the Messiah, which is an amazing revelation and really unique in all of the promises of the gospel. Because what he's trying to tell her, and I think what he's trying to tell us, is that if we were drinking of water that came purely from the Spirit, that we would be in a situation where we would never have to thirst again. Now listen, we're applying that to some natural principles, but I think the spiritual principles apply. What we started to notice was that water, which is kind of like the cornerstone of our life, is under attack on every front. It's got stuff in it that it shouldn't have in it. Some of the things that were in it originally that were supposed to be for our health and our freedom have been taken out, removed, or filtered. And I started thinking, wow, this is so much like what so many of us are facing with regard to trying to find a pure pathway to our understanding of who God is. And here Jesus is basically hanging out with this gal and saying, listen, you can take the water from the Spirit because of who I am. I'm God with you, you know. My name is Jesus, deliverer. And I'm here, the Christ, the anointed one, so that I could give you a promise. You could drink from my water and you'd never thirst again. And I just started thinking about that while we were doing this, to say, what if we could help to approach this in a natural way? And we started really praying over what we were doing so that it could reach the most desperate, the poorest of the poor, and the richest of the rich that are separated from promises. And inside the promise of that clean water, there was something amazing and life-changing about it, so that we could start to talk to one another. And when I was afraid for tomorrow, or I was angry at my neighbor, or I was frustrated over my circumstances, or upset about how somebody had done me wrong, and there's certainly enough of that going on. When I was wishing that my economic situation had completely changed, or that I had a different house, or I could buy a new car, or all of those things that kind of come to us over and over again, that our kids could have a great education, or that we want for them, that we thirst for these things, then we're giving up a primary promise of belief. And that is that if we really believed and we really accepted that promise, that we wouldn't have to be thirsty anymore. And that seems like a really great promise to me. And I'm not saying that there's anything easy about that, but I see people that close in on the person of Jesus, the essence of who he is, that begin to put life into a completely different perspective that isn't based on their experiences, that isn't based on how much they made or how much they lost or where they live or where they're going, but more based on a promise that they drank water, and that water had a spirit in it, and that spirit was asking them to just remember that they didn't have to be thirsty anymore. I just think it's a really cool thing. But listen, if you need help, make sure and hit the link below and contact us. We'd love to get some information to you about I Drink Living Water, no matter where you are. I got to tell you guys, we would even pray for you. And if you're an NGO or you're involved in inner city ministry, or you're trying to figure out how to get clean water to a constituency that needs it, then email us, cwo@idrinklivingwater, and let's see what we can do to make you a part of the new WaterX programs that we're doing, where we're trying to bring a new level of funding into bringing the promise of clean water to people in the first, second, and third world that just really need some help. Anyway, that's the long and the short of it. That's why I Drink Living Water is called I Drink Living Water. And if this has touched you in any way, then make sure to like, link, and subscribe. Follow along with us as we keep bringing information to you about the ever-changing world of water. Thirst for freedom. Okay, cool Bible verse. It's for freedom's sake that Christ set you free. So be free, okay? Thanks for listening.